Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Aziz kardeşim Başbakan Sayın Enver İbrahim, kıymetli bakanlar,
my dear brother, Prime Minister
saygıdeğer
Enver İbrahim,
hanımefendiler,
esteemed ministers, honorable ladies,
sevgili gençler,
dear young people,
kıymetli katılımcılar,
distinguished participants, I greet you all with most heartfelt feelings, with respect, greetings and affection. Esselamu aleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuhu. At the very beginning of my speech, I would like to convey to you the heartfelt greetings and affection of your 85 million brothers and sisters back home in Turkey. Every time I visit Malaysia, which we see as a sincere friend and brother, I feel a distinct type of excitement and happiness. I once again would like to extend my gratitude to my esteemed brother, Prime Minister Enver Ibrahim, and the entire Malaysian people for their warm hospitality that makes us really feel at home. As you know, the relations between the Turkish and Malay peoples date back all the way to the 16th century. So we share a common set of values, both historically and culturally also. Last year, in fact, we happily celebrated the 60th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. I hope that these close and friendly relations between our two countries will continue to gain momentum and grow even stronger in every field in the future. Dear sisters and brothers,
we are carrying out our visit to Malaysia in a period of significant changes in regional and global developments. As production, consumption, and distribution habits are radically changing, our world is simultaneously being pushed towards a new struggle for distribution. This change is accompanied by global, political, social, and economic disruptions. We also observe that competition between countries has become more destructive. Polarization has increased, and protectionist and unilateral approaches have become routine. It's necessary to identify one issue clearly. The founders of the global system are the victors of the Second World War. The ones who have set the rules of the game in many areas, from international relations to economy, finance, and trade, are also the very same countries. For the last 80 years, a significant portion of the underground and above-ground resources flowing from east to west have been used to support the economic, political, and military power of these countries and to finance the well-being of their peoples. Let's put our hands on our conscience and let's answer the following questions, please. Was it just a coincidence that the independence movements starting in the 1960s were later interrupted by military coup? Is it just a coincidence that the victims of the Cold War's power struggle between the two superpowers were usually the oppressed nations? Can we consider the overthrow of leaders who sought to balance their trade relations with major powers as innocent? If today 55% of the world's population only receives 1.3% of the total global income, isn't there a problem within the system? Can we accept as normal that a child born in North America has more opportunities than 70 children living in Africa right now? We could multiply the number of comparisons and the examples. This system, which protects not the just, the oppressed, or the weak, but the powerful, the oppressors, the elites, and the rich, cannot and should not continue in the same way. It's not possible, and it's not right, because in a place where justice is absent, where justice is set aside for the sake of wild interests, there can be no peace, tranquility, or development for humanity. Valued guests, dear youth, the system imposed on humanity 80 years ago under the extraordinary conditions of that time, I admit, no longer fits our world. We should all admit to this fact for what it is, because we can all see the signs of this fact in a wide variety of reasons. Moreover, we see the increasing impositions and the struggles of those who do not want to lose their privileges as they fight to maintain their power. We openly express our objection to this unjust order where the right is always on the side of the strong, not the just and not the fair. As Türkiye, we believe in the following. First and foremost, a system that doesn't represent almost 2 billion people of the Islamic world is inherently unjust, and it cannot deliver justice. It's impossible for a system that excludes a quarter of the world's population to bring society security, contribute to global stability, and serve peace. The same would apply to other groups that lack representation in the global governance system. Therefore, we need a new understanding, a new global order to solve our problems in all fields, ranging from economy to diplomacy, from trade to security. It is essential to build a system that embraces everyone, which is just, a system that shares the resources, that sees the differences as a richness, which is based on mutual trust. This is not just an option, it's an obligation. Our motto, "The world is bigger than five," has become one of the symbols of this search, of this quest for a new order. For this ideal to turn into reality, we first need to break the chains, the shackles that bind our minds. We need to believe that a world dominated by peace instead of conflict, security instead of fear, harmony instead of terror and violence, and prosperity instead of deprivation is possible. When we say that a fairer world is possible, this is actually the essence of the message that we're trying to convey. Although the club of the privileged who benefit from the current system may resist, but a more just world is possible in terms of economy, trade, social matters, and international representation. Let me state the following with all my sincerity. For a real change to occur, it's not enough to object only to the injustices that we face. Because while defending our own rights, we must also have the courage to open our hearts to the injustices and the suffering of others around us. Let us not forget that in a place where the one below is oppressed, there will only be sorrow, tears, and pain. This is the perspective from which we as Türkiye act and function. We are aware of our responsibility, and we are fighting to fulfill this responsibility. Dear friends,
Tüm bunları yaparak
While doing all this, we are striving to establish new partnerships and enrich our foreign relations and cooperation networks.
çabasındayız. Asya'nın
With the increasing importance of Asia, we aim to strengthen our ties and cooperation with the continent under the quote-unquote re-engage Asia vision that we declared back in the year 2019.
kuvvetlendirilmesini amaçlıyoruz. Aradan geçen
In the
5 yıl
5 years since, we have made significant progress,
kaydetti. Bu
and
açıdan
Malaysia has always had a special place in this new outreach.
Malezya ile ilişkileri
We have elevated our relations with Malaysia to the level of a strategic partnership back in the year 2014 and to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2022.
yükseltti. Halklarımız
We have
arasındaki
started to solidify our cooperation. We have started to solidify our cooperation with concrete steps in a way that befits the deep and close relations between our peoples. For us, Malaysia is one of the leading countries in the region, with its population nearing 35 million, dynamic economy, and skilled human resources. And that's why
en başında geliyor.
we aim to develop further our relations with Malaysia based on technological cooperation and joint manufacturing. We are now at the stage of reaping the fruits of this vision. Tusash Malaysia has become an effective facility offering work opportunities to over 100 young Malaysian engineers. Joint manufacturing of the second batch of Coast Guard ships has begun with the cooperation from our defense industry companies. We have significant cooperation in the area of ANCA unmanned aerial vehicles, also known as drones. In terms of trade, we exceeded $5 billion in 2024, in line with the targets that we've set. We aim to increase the trade volume to $10 billion in a balanced manner. We want to increase our cooperation in all sectors, from semiconductor technologies to automotive, from aviation technology to civilian simulators. We want to focus on different areas as well, walking hand in hand with Malaysia. Our countries also have the distinct feature of being gateways to both Asia and Europe. And in this regard, we wish to further strengthen our air travel connections. Our second largest airport is operated by the Malaysia Airports Authority. This is something that we need to consider in order to understand the level of strong solidarity and cooperation between Turkey and Malaysia. I value the steps we will take in the field of social relations. With the contributions of the largest Yunus Emre Turkish Cultural Center in the region, we are making significant strides towards the future. The Turkish Marif Foundation's efforts to establish schools here are continuing, and I consider this as our duty to pass on the deep affection between our two countries to the new generations, and I believe we must create the necessary infrastructure and opportunities for this. Some of our youth who suffered from restrictive and oppressive policies in our country at one time came to Malaysia and received their higher education here. And during our time in the office, while our governments were in power, we have made great investments in education, and we have developed significant opportunities in the field of education in Turkey. Currently, we are hosting around 340,000 international students from over 190 countries in our 208 Turkish universities.
genç
I invite young student brothers and sisters here to take advantage of these educational opportunities in our country.
Kıymetli konuklar.
Distinguished guests,
Malezya'nın diplomasi
we are also proud of Malaysia's success in diplomacy, in manufacturing, finance, and trade.
gururlanıyoruz. 2025
I wish Malaysia success in its 2025 ASEAN term presidency.
Malezya liderliği
I sincerely hope that this new era under Malaysia's leadership will contribute to strengthening the cooperation between our country and ASEAN.
yürekten temenni ediyorum. Malezya ile
We are acting in full solidarity with Malaysia on many issues, but especially those concerning the entire Muslim world.
Malezya'nın
I highly appreciate Malaysia's support for Gaza and the Palestinian cause.
verdiği desteği takdirle takip
I also welcome Malaysia's resolute
Malezya'nın
I also welcome Malaysia's resolute stance in fighting Islamophobia.
bunu memnuniyetle karşılıyorum. Malezya ile
We are determined to advance our relations with Malaysia within the framework of D8 and to increase economic development and cooperation.
kararlıyız. Bakın burada
Let me specifically emphasize one point here.
çizmek istedim. İsrail
Since the first day of the massacre in Gaza, where Israel is committing genocide, we have been engaged in an intense diplomatic effort.
Birleşmiş Milletler
In all platforms, including the United Nations General Assembly, we drew attention to Israel's state terrorism, condemned the atrocity,
Filistin
and we became the voice of Palestine, speaking out loud.
Gazze'ye gönderdiğimiz
In addition to more than 100,000 tons of humanitarian aid we have sent to Gaza, we took a very clear stance by completely halting trade relations with
tepkimizi çok net
Israel.
ortaya koyduk. Saldırıların
We have made every effort to ensure that the attacks would cease and that the perpetrators would be held accountable before international law.
15 ay boyunca
Of course, we faced intense pressure and threats during these 15 months of continuous efforts. We were subjected to character assassination by the Zionist lobbies,
maruz kaldık. Ama hiçbir
but we
zaman
never bowed to
zulme
tyranny
ve
and
zalime
oppressors.
boyun eğmedik. Gazze'li ve
We never
Filistin
abandoned
mazlumları
the oppressed people
bir
of
olsun
Gaza
sahipsiz
and
bırakmadık.
Palestine.
Bu süreç bizlere uluslararası sistemin
This process was very important for us to show the fragility of international system and governance. More than 61,000 Palestinians have lost their lives, women, children, and the elderly. And the Security Council of the United Nations unfortunately remained indifferent because of the reasons I have previously shared with you. They couldn't halt these atrocities once and for all. Right? On the contrary, we witnessed a great collapse of humanitarian values and international law over 471 days.
İnsan hakları örgütleri de aynı şekilde
Humanitarian organizations and the international media failed the test that Gaza have
sevgili gençler.
put us up to. Dear brothers, for 471 days, the international humanitarian values and law
büyük
were
bir çöküşe şahit olduk.
greatly lost. As I've said, they have collapsed. 2 million people squeezed into 360 square kilometers experienced one of the most savage and barbaric genocides of the last century.
Buna rağmen
Yet the people of Gaza,
kelimesinin gencinden
from young to old, from men to women, embodied the word dignity.
ete kemiğe büründüğü Gazze'li
And
kardeşlerimiz
our brothers and sisters in
teslim
Gaza
olmadı.
did not
Zalimler
surrender.
karşısında
And
çökmedi,
in the face of the tyrants,
vatanlarını
they never
terk
bowed
etti.
down and they never abandoned their motherland.
direniş güçlerinin
Thanks to the heroic struggle of the resistance forces, Israel failed to achieve its strategic objectives.
neticede
And
bizim de
as a result
verdiğimiz bir süreç
of a process to which we also contributed, a ceasefire agreement was reached between Hamas, the Palestinian resistance movement, and Israel on January the 19th. However, we continue to see Israel's arrogant and lawless behavior.
görüyoruz. Filistinlileri binlerce yıldır yaşadıkları topraklardan sürgün etmeye yönelik
They wanted to exile Palestinians from their motherlands where they have been living for hundreds of years, and I think this is a suggestion that should never be taken seriously.
Bu arada Filistin halkına
At the same time,
ikinci bir nekbe yaşatmaya Allah'ın izniyle
we will never allow a second
kimsenin
Nakba to be
vermeyeceğiz.
experienced by the Palestinian people once again. Nobody will be powerful enough to condemn the Palestinians to another Nakba. What we need to discuss here is as the following. Over 61,000 innocent lives were lost in Gaza, and schools, churches, mosques, and universities were bombed.
Gazze'deki
Almost
binaların
80% of Gaza's buildings were destroyed.
50 milyon tonu aşkın devasa bir enkazdan
We are talking about an enormous wreckage of 50 million tons, and we know that the destruction in Gaza is estimated to cost around $100 billion. The culprit for this enormous damage is Israel and the Netanyahu government. Israel must pay this price alone, certainly and most definitely. Israel's government must first pay the cost of the destruction it caused. They should be charged for that, and then the reconstruction of Gaza must begin. Any damage that is not compensated will only embolden the perpetrator. Israel cannot continue on its way as if nothing had happened after such destruction, pain, and massacres.
Dolayısıyla Netanyahu 15 ay süren katliamlarının
That's why Netanyahu
topraklarından kopartamadığı Gazze'lilere yer arayacağına
should stop looking for a new location for the Gazans who were exiled from their motherlands and instead focus on resources where he will be able to make up for the $100 million worth of destruction that he has caused. And I need to especially mention the following. We have experienced a significant destruction in the aftermath of the February the 6th earthquakes in 2023. And we have lost more than 53,000 citizens, more than 311,000 buildings became unusable. And despite this very atrocious landscape, even before 2 years passed since then, we have removed the wreckage, we have started the construction, and we have handed over 201,000 residential units. And until the end of this year, 453,000 units of residential and commercial units will be completed. We hope and pray that we will demonstrate the same resolve in the reconstruction of Gaza. May Allah permit we will resurrect Gaza once and for all. So long as Israel will be charged to pay up for whatever the people of Gaza already deserve. This is their right. And similarly, the Israeli state and the illegal settlers will have to return the homes, the lands, and the commercial units to the rightful owners, who are the Palestinians. Right next to the reconstruction of Gaza, we also have to establish a Palestinian state with its full territorial integrity and independence, the capital city of which is going to be Eastern Jerusalem. And it is very important for us to invest further in our efforts in doing that. This is our duty for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We owe this to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen, we need to strengthen the relations between Turkey and Malaysia in every extent possible. And this is an obligation that our heritage, our legacy puts us up to. And this visit is a significant confirmation of our devotion. And this is a great milestone. It's a very valuable milestone for all of our countries. And with these thoughts and emotions, I would like to take this opportunity once again thank my dear brother, Prime Minister Enver Ibrahim, for this kind and gracious hospitality that I've been shown along with my delegation. And I also would like to salute and greet all my Malaysian brothers and sisters who have embraced us ever so dearly. And I also would like to respectfully greet and salute you all, distinguished participants, and I entrust you in the hands of Allah once again.